Hello Pookies, welcome back. It's been a while since I have just sat and talked to you about books. We are 3 months into the year. First quarter is almost done, if you will, and we'll do our first quarter wrap up of the books that have made me cry this year, because I thought about it and I've been reading a lot of books, and the theme of this year has really just been books that make me feel something. And I have obviously been reading for fun, reading for pleasure, but I've been gravitating towards books that are very human and heartfelt and, talk about the human condition, what it's like to be a person. And so I've been reading a lot of books that explore the complexities of being a human being. Since I've been exploring books that are really just about what we go through, what makes us us, what makes a good person and a bad person, I have obviously read some emotional books. I've read some books that have evoked emotion, okay? They've evoked anger. They've evoked some laughs. They have evoked good times. And really, really bad, really dark times as well. So I wanted to share with you the books that have made me cry this year. Now, when I talk about crying, I usually am saying like it made me emotional enough that I like teared up and had a little streaming down my face a little bit. Because there were some maybe where I just like welled up a little bit, but then there were some where I'll tell you one embarrassing story where I was checked on, okay, while I was reading the book. So I'm going to share those books with you. There's not too many, but I just thought if y'all like books that make you feel something, if you like to cry when you read a book, I'm going to share some with you that may be able to do that for you, because they did it for me. So maybe they will do it for you. The first book that really got some emotion out of me this year was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This is a book about a hockey team it's in a small town, and this town loves their junior hockey team. And they project all of their hopes and dreams and fears and everything that they experience as a collective small community onto this junior hockey team and the junior hockey team's success. And then something happens after their semifinal match, and it kind of shakes the whole town because it involves the junior hockey team and it involves their teenagers. They are teens, so it involves like adult decisions and teenagers and the fallout and what it does to their parents and what it does to them and friendships and their growing brains. And it explores the dynamics of what we support and what we stand for. It's what the town supports and what the town stands for, but it's obviously a social commentary as well. But it really does just such a good job of putting you in the environment of this small town that only cares about ice hockey and what happens when it feels like ice hockey may be ruining the town. So yeah, I didn't want to give you too much information because I don't want to spoil too much of it. If that premise doesn't sound very interesting to you, I totally get it. When I first heard about it, I was like, okay, I don't care about ice hockey very much, and how could it have that much of an impact? Hi Pookies, I had to change my filming location to like 2 feet over because the wind is so loud. You can probably still hear it, but it was overpowering the video. As I was saying about the book, if you're thinking, I don't care about hockey, I don't want to read that, understandable. Because I didn't think like, oh, what do I care about hockey? And like, how are you going to achieve this masterpiece when you're talking about hockey? Well, I don't know. Fredrik Backman just does it. He does it in the way he writes. He does it in the characters he's created. There is just something about each of these characters and the struggles that they go through that you have Can y'all hear the tornado I'm in? There's just something about the way these characters navigate who they are as people and what this situation does to them that tugs at your heartstrings. Okay, not all of them, obviously. Some of them make terrible choices and are bad people, but there's just some that stick with you and you have you just care. I don't know, he makes you care about all of them. So Beartown is one of my very first reads of the year, and it is the one I first cried at. I cried. I was like listening to it in my office at work too, and I was like, I'm getting emotional. I'm getting emotional. I'm like scanning documents, and I got a little bit of tears come here, and then by the end of it, it's just characters that stuck with me in the book, if you've read it or if you want to read it and are looking forward to it, were Benji. Benji, I think I just have the biggest heart for, and he is one of the hockey players. And then Maya, who is a very central character to the story. Her parents, her dad is like the GM of the hockey team, and then her mom is a lawyer, just trying to be a mom and trying to be a hardworking woman, and then navigating what happens in the book. And sorry I'm being so cryptic about it, I just don't want to spoil what actually happens, but her parents go through so much, and I just really feel for them. And I think Fredrik Backman does such a good job because he's like weaving this story from so many different perspectives, and he does such a good job of what is going on in these teenagers' brains and their minds, their feelings, and then what the parents are going through too. And he just humanizes all of them, and he navigates so well the differences and the similarities between the parents and the teenagers, and you can tell he's been a teenager and a parent, honestly. So that's what I really loved about the book, and that's what made me cry. Yeah, just what the characters go through, the growth that they get to, the things they have to leave behind, and yeah, it is everything, okay? I recommended it to many people, and I will also say, like, it deals with very heavy topics, so if you are not in a place to read those, then I recommend that you don't. But yeah, I don't know what more to say. Beartown is a masterpiece. I cannot wait to read more from Fredrik Backman. And while I'm at it, the second book that I cried to this year was the second Beartown book. It's called Us Against Them, and it continues the story after everything that's happened in the first book, and you're kind of like, well, everything could have been resolved, and it is in its own way, but he made characters that you care about so much you genuinely want to read the next book because you want to know how they're doing, what's going on. And he does such a good job in the second book. Oh my gosh, he does such a good job of like developing these characters, the story, the fallout of the first book, but it's not all just that. He really pushes these characters to their limits. He pushed me to my emotional limits. And this one, I'm pretty sure I can insert pictures of me crying on my lunch break, because I don't know, it just really hit home after reading the first one and building it up, and then the second one just solidifies so much. It was ripe for me to be crying. Like, I knew I would. And like I said, the parents, they just go through so much more, and the kids, they're literal kids, but they're going through adult things, and the town is like tearing itself apart. It's so much going on, but also his writing, Fredrik's, is just so beautiful, and it's just weaves together a story in the way that you're reading it and it is a movie to you. It is completely a movie. This is like a screenplay, basically, and it's so good. There's one more book left in the series, and I cannot wait till I get my copy from the library. I've been on hold for a while now, but I cannot wait to finish this series. And if I were to guess, since I cried at the first two, I will probably cry at the third. I rated both books 5 stars because I love them that much. Yeah, I don't know, they just really stuck with me. There's something that I think about a lot. I would really like to see an adaptation. I believe there's like a Swedish adaptation, because I think that's where it's set actually, but I can't get access to her because apparently HBO Max took it off. So I would like to see it though. Anyway, next book that I read was called Remarkably Bright Creatures. This book, wow. I think it's this author's debut novel, and it is about Marcellus, who is a giant octopus. A giant Pacific octopus, and he lives in an aquarium in Washington. And he takes a liking to this woman who's a janitor there. Her name is Tova. and Marcellus. It's just such an interesting concept of a book where the octopus is a character in the story who you hear from. He thinks, he's sentient, he has thoughts. And while it may sound kind of cheesy, but wow, a talking octopus, Marcellus! The author does such a good job of bringing him to life and having opinions, but not being in such an outlandish way. You know, it is still a story grounded somewhat in reality, but it's also like acknowledging that Marcellus is a sentient and intelligent creature who can pick up on things and is kind of learning from humans, since that's what he sees all day at the aquarium. So basically, Tova is a widow, and she lost her son years prior, and she actually doesn't know what happened to him. She just knows that he went to sea and never returned, and so she dealt with that loss in her life. And then recently she dealt with the loss of her husband, and so she took on this job, and that's just what she does with her time. And it's a small community. People really know each other, they're really in each other's business, but they all kind of care for each other. And then you got Marcellus, who's here in this aquarium, and he notices Tova. He notices like every person's patterns, and he's figuring out things about humans by the way they walk and the way they talk to each other, and he makes funny little jokes. And he's just such a likable character. I don't know, I just like fell in love with this dang octopus Marcellus. Anyway, he feels for Tova. He can tell that she has been brought down by life, and he is wanting to he wants to do something in his time, because he knows he's an octopus that has a lifespan. So you just kind of navigate Tova, who is also growing older in age and doesn't really know exactly what to do with herself now that her husband's gone. And then you have another character come in, and he's all over the place. He's like 30, and he's had a wild life, instability, and then he comes to this small town where everybody knows each other and everyone's looking out for each other and everyone's kind of, you know, in each other's business. And so yeah, it's just an interesting way that the story weaves together, and Marcellus decides he wants to help Tova find out what happened to her son. You're thinking, it's a story about an octopus, why are you crying? Well, it's a story about an octopus, okay? And I'm crying. I don't know, it's just, the setting is so good. The aquarium, I literally felt like it was the Seattle Aquarium. It's not, because it explicitly states that it's not, but it feels like if you've ever been to the Seattle Aquarium, you're like, oh, yeah, this is here. It is a Washington aquarium though, and Marcellus is just such a lively little creature, and his thoughts are so profound for an octopus, and he cares, and he thinks humans, he just has opinions about humans, and I think it's cute, and such an interesting lens to go from the perspective of an octopus. But this author just develops these characters so well, and you know, doesn't drag the story out too long. It may have been a bit predictable, but also it's not set to be the most unpredictable book in the world. It actually is just set to be, look at this human and her struggles, and look at this animal that cares. So, and that's what it did. And I literally I'm listening to the end of the book at work, and I'm just like, Marcellus, I love you so much, Marcellus. That may have been the craziest rant I just went on about a giant Pacific octopus, but it means something to me, okay? So if you like it, it's very much literary fiction, okay? It's not a go, plot. It's just following this short storyline and kind of connecting things for this woman. And yeah, so if you don't like a slow burn of a book, then you probably won't like this. But if you like an interesting perspective like that, and you just want to see what happens, then I would recommend, and maybe you will cry like I did. Or maybe you will just feel happy too, because there's so many happy moments. It's so got perfect like comedic timing at the same time. The characters are lovable. Tova is by no means just, you know, sitting around and feeling sorry, okay? She does have struggles, but she's a lively character. All the side characters are just something, and so it's a really well-rounded book. And then the last book, since like I said, we're only 3 months in, so this will be the 4th book that caused me to cry this year, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. y'all know that I read The Women by Kristen Hanna at the very end of 2024, and that book changed me. That book brought me to the Vietnam War, made me live through the horrors of it, and then spit me right back out, just like the main character, Frankie. And I don't, mean that in an insensitive way. I know, obviously, that it's just a book, and it's a fictional one at that, but it's just based on such reality. And Kristen Hanna knows how to write. She knows how to make a setting. She knows what to bring a character through, and you go through everything with that character. So I really connected with that book a lot. I enjoyed it. I recommend it to everyone. And so I thought, okay, let's try out the classic Kristen Hanna, The Nightingale. And I read it with all my friends. And let me tell you, I started the book and I was like, okay, interesting. Okay, Kristen, I see you. And then it really dragged for a bit. And then by the end of it, we had been through so much because it dragged, because it made you really care about these characters. By the end of it, I am a blubbering mess. So the book is set in France, like the start of World War II, and it's about two sisters who navigate this war in their own ways, okay? And they have childhoods that set up what their relationship is like and who they are as people. And then it also just gives you so much insight onto why they make the decisions they do and what ultimately happens in the end. So this book, wow. You go through everything with these two sisters, and they're so different, but they're still sisters. And Kristen just does such a good job of portraying what it's like to love a family member and to be different from them and to want to be different yourself, and doing what's best for you and what you think is best for a family. And it just drags you through the trenches of what life was like in France when they were invaded, and how, people gave up or did not give up, and the way that these women had to survive. So, I mean, it really just touches your soul. There's so many horrific things that are depicted in this book because it is World War II. And it doesn't seem like she does it just gratuitously. She really does it with a purpose. But man, it hits so hard. And I was in the boba tea shop. I think y'all saw me in a Friday vlog. I don't know if I told y'all that I cried or not, but I'm pretty sure I did. I'm in a boba tea shop. And why am I calling it a boba tea shop? Like, I'm just getting boba, okay? I'm there and I am tearing up and I'm like, what the heck? And my nose is running and I'm like wiping it and I'm like, this is a mess. You're a disaster. Go home. So I go home, and then the next day I read the rest of it. Guys, I have been through so much with these girls. These girls have been through everything. I am like... I'm trying not to. I have my headphones in so I can't hear myself, but I can feel my chest is tight and I know there's water coming out of my eyes. And the boy literally comes and checks on me. My boyfriend gets up and comes and is like, are you okay? You're like, really, are you okay? Yes, okay? Let me read my book in peace and let me cry in peace. I'm fine. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here in the living room. You can see I'm fine. I'm just crying. It's fine. You see I have a book in my hands. But it was such an embarrassing moment because it's like, yes, I'm crying over a book. But also I'm not embarrassed because the book made me feel something. But also I was just like, can you let me read it in peace? And you're disturbing my cry sesh. Okay, you're disturbing this environment that I'm in. And it's mostly because I'm embarrassed that I'm crying so much. So, yeah, that's all I can say about that, really, is that it's embarrassing to be honestly like sobbing at that point. But I just felt like we went through everything with these girlies. It was a lot, and I really felt for them. I don't know, call me an empathizer. I don't know, but here I am. I'm crying over some words on a page. Yeah. Also, it sent me back into my World War II era where I was like, remember when you were fascinated with World War II in like middle school and high school and whenever you could learn about it? Roll it back, bring it back. So then I read another book after that about World War II. Fictional book again, but similar setting. That one didn't make me cry, but this one did. Kristen Hanna, you do it again. I can't remember if I cried or not during the women. I actually think I did at the end. So that's 2 for 2 for Kristen. 2 times she's gotten little tears to come out of these eyes. I feared to read another book because I will be crying again. Those are all the books that I read this year so far that have made me cry. I hope that maybe you have found some books you either want to read or you want to steer clear from. And yeah, that's all I have to share for today. I really enjoyed these. If you have a book that you've read this year or any time that's made you cry and you think it's something worth sharing, please recommend. I would love to hear it. And I love an emotional book. I love something that will make you feel. It doesn't have to be tears, okay? Don't get me wrong. I don't always need to be crying, but I love books that make you feel something. So if you even have anything like that that you want to share, please do. And I will see you guys in the next one.